Today, we're going to cover 8 sales questions, right? 8 sales questions that every freight broker needs to know. All right. So I'm going to dive into that. And again, these are not all, you're not going to ask all 8 of these questions on every single call. And these are not the only questions that you can ask or should ask. But these are 8 very powerful questions that will help you to navigate the sales process with an effort and design to help you get more shippers. So here we go. All right. So the first question, and again, you guys can take some notes. This will be available on replay at some point on YouTube or on my blog. But right now, if you want to take some questions and start take some notes and start applying this, here we go. Question number 1. What are the top challenges that you're currently facing? So that question, what are the top challenges that you're currently facing? Now, you can position that question one of 3 ways. You can position it for them individually as an individual shipping manager, warehouse manager, traffic manager, logistics manager. What are the biggest challenges they're facing? You could also frame it as their department, meaning logistics, transportation, shipping. You could also frame it as a company-wide. My suggestion is in your first at bat, you're probably going to frame it more towards the individual because that's what's most important to him. That's going to give you some true insight into some of the pain and challenges and issues that are going on specifically for him in his role in shipping and logistics. Okay, so that's a very powerful question. What are the top challenges that you're currently facing today? And then the most important part about asking good questions is after you ask the question, you have to zip your lip and listen. That's the most important part. Zip your lip and listen. Let them talk and absorb and listen and take notes and remember what they're saying when you ask these questions, no matter what question it is. That's one of the most important ingredients. I hear people all the time ask questions, but they don't listen carefully enough to understand and dissect the answers so that they can then navigate the next step of the sale. Because if you ask good questions, your prospects will tell you how to sell them. Okay, so that's question number 1. Question number 2, what do you like most about your current provider? What do you like most about your current provider? So again, these are more cold calls or introductory calls. And what this does is this is designed to take the temperature of your prospect, right? If they're saying and responding, oh, I love my provider. I've been using them for years. I would never use anybody else. Oh my God, these guys are the best. You understand where you need to go. If they're saying, on the other hand, if they're saying, oh man, some of these guys are terrible. Matter of fact, I just had a guy drop a load on me, caused all kinds of stress, or we just had a guy deliver late and, the client was really upset. Now you also know where to navigate, right? So that's a very powerful question, right? And that question is, again, what do you like most about your current provider? All right, so that's question number 2. Question number 3 is, what's the decision-making process like for adding a new transportation partner at your company? So what you're trying to do with this question, again, let me say it again. What's the decision-making process for adding a new transportation partner at your company? So what you're trying to understand, again, is you're trying to understand from the inside out how to navigate becoming a new provider. He's going to say, well, it starts with me, and then, you've got to submit some paperwork, and then my boss has to review it, and then we set you up in the system, and then we do the bid, and then we do, they're going to walk you through this process. Your goal is to have them give you a step-by-step process. Either it's 2 or 3 or 4 steps that you can then jot down, take some notes, and understand. Now you understand the process of how a new vendor is, number 1, selected, and number 2, set up. That's a powerful question, very powerful question. It's a question that most people never ask, all right? The rule of thumb here is this. I'm going to give you the rule of thumb. The bigger the company, the more complex the process usually is, and the more check boxes that you're going to have to check in order to become an approved provider. Okay. Smaller companies typically have a much less formal process. Larger companies have a little bit more formal process. Okay. So again, that's number 3. What's the decision-making process for adding a new transportation provider at your company? Really powerful question, very simple question. But again, after you ask that question, you have to zip your lip and listen, right? Then take some notes. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4. All right. Now there's 8 of these. We're getting halfway through here. Okay. Number 4 is, how do you see your needs changing in the next 12 to 18 months? This is a really good question. I love this question. And the reason being is because it makes the prospect look at where they are today, what's going on inside their business today, the pain, the good, the bad, and the ugly today, but it also makes them think about what might come in the next 6, 12, 18 months. So it really makes them think about what the future of their role, their department, the business is, right? So change is one of those things that we have no choice. In business, when I was brought into business, one of the first lessons I learned, and one of the lessons I will bestow upon you right now, is this: the only constant in business is change. So listen, think about that for a minute. The only constant in business is change. So what you have to understand is that things change in business. Some industries change faster than others, like technology and the medical field, and those things change very, very quickly. The transportation logistics industry changes much slower, but still is changing over time. It has changed since I started my business back in 2003. Then you guys all know my story, grew that company to over 80 million in sales and sold it. So things are changing. So you have to understand that by asking that question, you're trying to garner some insight about what's going on inside of his job, his department, his company. But more importantly, you want him to think about being prepared for those future changes and how you, who just asked that question, might be able to support them. Okay. So that's number 4. All right. So, all right, let's jump into number 5. All right. Number 5, the question number 5 is, this is a great question. This is one of those questions that everybody better write down. You better jot this down right now. Grab your pen and paper and jot this down. Listen, I'm going to give you 1 second. Grab a pen and paper and jot this down right now. This question can earn you $1 million if you use it properly. Okay. What would have to happen for your boss to give you a great review and possibly a raise in the next year? Maybe I can help. Listen to that. Listen to that question. What would have to happen for your boss to give you a great review and possibly a raise in the next year? Maybe I can help. That question, and there's little changes and nuances. You can make it your own, but you get the point. What you're trying to understand from is you're trying to understand, number 1, how difficult this boss is to work with. Number 2, what's the benchmark? How is he measured? How is he or she measured in their job, right? What are the most important metrics that they are gauged by, right? And then by you then saying, maybe I can help, it's making you his partner, and it's showing that you're willing to support him, not just the company. But you're more concerned about his personal journey, his personal success, his or her personal journey or success. Okay. So now all of a sudden you guys get on the same side of the table. In most cases, sales starts out with you being on one side of the table and them being on the other side of the table. And it could be a little bit adversarial. But with this type of question, all of a sudden you move over to his side of the table and you sit next to him and you sit in his chair, you sit in his seat, and you try to understand what exactly would have to happen for this guy to get a raving review and even a raise in the next 12 months. And then you brainstorm with him to try to help make that happen, right? So that's a great question. That's probably one of the most powerful questions I'm going to share with you today. That was number 5, okay? All right, number 6 is, what are the top 3 metrics that you would use to evaluate the to evaluate success when working with me? Let me read that again. What are the top 3 metrics that you would use to evaluate success when working with me? Now, this question could be used for existing clients, newer clients, but it could also be used with prospects who you have not done business with yet, but you're starting to navigate through the process. So one thing, it assumes the close, because you're saying that what metrics would you use to evaluate success when working with me? So we're already assuming you're working with me. What would you use to measure success? How would you gauge me? What are the most important metrics to you? So now again, you're asking him what's most important to him. It's making the conversation about him or her, not about you, not about your products or services. It's about him. What's most important to him? How would he or she gauge success when they measure the relationship with me as a business partner, as a transportation partner? Okay. So that's number 6. That's a great question. Okay. I don't want to understate that question. Understanding how you're measured will help you to understand how he's measured. So that kind of goes back in some ways to that last question, question number 5. They can in some ways be tied together, but understanding what are the top 3 metrics that you would use to evaluate success when working with me. All right, that's number 6. 2 more questions, guys. 2 more questions. I hope I'm not going too fast, but I did want to share these. I can't do an hour or 2. I mean, I could spend probably 4 or 5 or 6 hours on just this training, okay, if I really wanted to dive into it and really break it down. But I wanted to just share these questions with you. And again, I got a couple more, so hang tight here. But for those of you that are just really quick, I want to get this out. For those of you that are curious and are listening to this or here live, or you're checking it out on replay or YouTube, wherever you're checking it out, if you're curious about becoming a freight broker or freight agent, just a quick heads up, I've trained over 7,000 students, okay, in the last decade, personally generated over $200 million as a freight broker, okay? And so I have a course called freightbrokerbootcamp.com. You can check it out. It has a 60-day, 100% money back guaranteed, and we're well known to be the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program available today. So I'll get that little infomercial out there. Again, I don't charge for these trainings. So, the price of admission is, comment, share, like the stream, like the feed, like the post, wherever you're checking this out, give me a comment. And now I'm going to hit number 7. Okay. Number 7, we got 2 more. Right. And then we're going to go into live Q&A. All right. So number 7 is many people we talk to are reporting problems with X being an issue, right? How is this affecting you? All right. So let me read that again. Many people we're talking to are reporting problems with X. How is that affecting you? Now, you can, again, frame this. He can take that one of a variety of ways. How is it affecting his company? How's it affecting his department? How's it affecting him personally in his job? How's it affecting him personally in his life? My suggestion to you is to focus more on them as individuals. Start using that as a way to build rapport and develop a real relationship. Okay? Because again, this is the challenge with freight brokers. They're all focused on transactions. They're not focused on relationships. These questions are designed to build rapport, gather sales intelligence, create a dialogue, and develop a real relationship. Okay, so that's a perfect example. Knowing the answers to these questions by asking and then zipping your lip and listening and taking good notes is one of the most powerful ways for you to get new clients. Okay, new shippers. All right, so that's number 7. Again, many of the people that we're talking to these days are reporting problems with X. How is that affecting you? That's number 7. And number 8, drum roll, please. All right, I shook the table, made a lot of noise, so sorry about that. So anyway, number 8 is, how much time do you currently spend per week fixing issues related to your current transportation providers? Think about that one. Man, can that open a can of worms right there? That's what you want to do. You're trying to find a little nick in their skin, like a little wound, like a little opening. And what this does is it takes salt and it rubs it right into that wound. And it gets them talking about issues they've had with their current provider. Now, if there are no issues top of mind, well, then you may not get a whole lot of feedback. But if there are, now that chink in the door, that little opening in the door has just opened that much wider for you to jump into that gap. Okay. So that question once again is, how much time do you currently spend per week fixing issues related to your current transportation providers? Zip your lip, listen. Okay. Very powerful question. Again, this is like pouring salt on a wound, right? If there is an open wound, a recent flesh wound from some sort of service failure, this is going to get them to open up, right? And that's the opening that you're looking for, okay? So those are the 8 sales questions that I wanted to share with you today. I'm going to briefly run through them one more time, okay? Really quick. Question number 1, what are the top challenges that you're currently facing? Question number 2, what do you like most about your current providers? Question number 3, what's the decision-making process like for adding a new transportation partner at your company? Question number 4, how do you see your needs changing in the next 12 to 18 months? Question number 5, what would have to happen for your boss to give you a great review and possibly a raise in the next year? Maybe I can help. Question number 6, what are the top 3 metrics that you would use to evaluate success when working with me? Question number 7 is, many people we're talking to are reporting problems with X. How is this affecting you? And question number 8 is, how much time do you currently spend per week fixing issues related to your current transportation providers? So those are the 8 questions that every freight broker needs to know. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you took some notes. I hope this was valuable for you. And I hope you leverage this type of training, okay, this type of information, because asking good questions is the secret to success in selling. It's not about the best presenter. It's not about the most charismatic. It's about the person who asks the best questions and learns how to truly listen and connect with whoever their prospect is, okay? All right, so those are the 8 questions. If you guys are curious about getting started as a freight broker or freight agent, again, you can check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We offer a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked. And again, we are the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program available today, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I really appreciate it. Have an awesome day, have an awesome week, and I'll be back here Monday at noon. Talk to you soon.